Most artists take too long to start their business because they don't know how long things are supposed to take. And it's hard to tell if you're being thoughtful or if you're just avoiding failure or making a mistake, right? In this video, I'm going to walk you through each stage of starting an online store that most creatives spend too much time on and tell you how long it should actually take so you know and you can finally launch super fast, like this week. Number one is competition. I've coached so many artists now over 12 years, and the first thing that slows people down is competition. You look up an idea on Etsy or Instagram, and then you see hundreds of other shops doing exactly the same thing. And then you start wondering if the market is too saturated, if maybe you missed your chance, if there's even still room for you. Then maybe you keep researching, telling yourself you're just validating the idea. And if you have OCD tendencies like me, sometimes you fall into this rabbit hole thinking you'll find an answer out of this sea of competition and out of all of this research that you're doing. Like maybe if you did just a little bit more research, things will become clearer to you. But it doesn't until you simply accept that competition can be a good thing and learn how to do research in a way that's productive and not just feeding your fear. So this part doesn't need to take more than 48 hours. That's it. Your job is to simply check if people are already selling this product and if customers are actually buying. If yes, that's great. Competition is not a red flag. It usually means there's demand. During this time, you also want to be thinking about how you can make your product different from what you see out there. This is really what will take the bulk of that time, not the actual researching. And after 2 days, you can stop researching and move forward. You do not need to find some magical untouched niche or a product that no one has ever heard of before. That's kind of what I did for my first business, Tiny Hands, which I still run to this day after 20 years in business. But out of the 4 businesses I have, it is the hardest one to promote because there is no inherent demand for it. I have to create that demand, and that's really, really hard to do. Number 2, naming your business. Naming slows people down more than anything else. It's like the small task, right? But it carries a lot of pressure and baggage. You feel the name has to represent you, your style, your future direction, the kind of customers you want, and you might think it needs to sound creative and meaningful and different and memorable and professional all at the same time. That is a lot to ask from a short phrase. So, you're gonna start brainstorming. Maybe you write some long lists, you research domain names over and over. Maybe you check the Instagram handles, see if they're taken or not. And then you ask friends what they think. And this is where I find a lot of spiraling happens because the name that you like is not the name that your friends like. So then you second guess everything and keep searching for the perfect name that everyone likes. But please know there is no such thing. So you can already guess what I'm going to say. Assuming you have done your research and due diligence on the name, just go with the one that you like the most. You don't need validation from your friends because the name of your business is so incredibly subjective that everyone will have a different feeling or experience with it. So naming your business should take at most a week, and that's not like active time, right? You're thinking about a name when you drive to the store or cooking dinner or when you're chatting with your friend. It only takes so long because it is a process that I found needs space, it needs to breathe, and you do need to introspect and do some soul searching around it. So that's all fine and good, but be careful that you don't get into overthinking and self-doubt territory. I have been there myself many times. The purpose of name is simple. It gives your store a label, and then it allows you to buy a domain name. It allows customers to remember you and then find you again later on. It does not need to tell like this full story or be deeply symbolic, and it certainly does not need to be perfect, okay? The goal is not trying to take your entire essence and your art and boil that down into 2 or 3 words. That's when this feels impossible to do. There are only a few things that really matter. The name should be easy to say. So if someone hears it once, they should be able to repeat it. They should be able to spell it easily, because if someone types it into Google, they should be able to find you without guessing. And it should not easily be confused with another big existing brand. You also need to check if you can get a usable domain. It does not have to be the exact name with a .com if that is just not available. It just needs to be close enough and clear. So if you need to, you can append or prepend words like shop or studio. just so you can get the domain name for it. I mean, most of the fear around naming is really just a fear of commitment, right? Because once you pick a name, it feels real. It means you're actually starting this business, and that's uncomfortable. So it might feel safer to keep thinking about it. And I get that it also feels so permanent, right? But I'm here to tell you it's not. I have renamed my business so many times. You can always change your mind later. It is not an extremely difficult process to go through, and it's definitely possible. So hopefully once you know this, we can take away some of that fear around just choosing a name. Number 3 is another area that people spend way too much time on is the website. And I get it. You need a lot of stuff to finish the website. You need a logo, product photos, product descriptions, prices, and it also feels very technical. So if you're not as confident with the tech, that might feel scary. There can be a huge learning curve to building out a website, especially if it's your first time. A lot of artists I know spend months building a website, but if you know what to look for, it does not need to take more than a weekend. Okay, the product photos is definitely manual work that you have to do, but with a much smaller product line, which I will talk about in a bit. This also shouldn't take you more than 1 to 2 days. And if you're taking more than that, either it's maybe because you're new to it and you're just learning, or maybe some perfectionist tendencies are coming out a little bit. And once you're aware of it, it's a little bit easier to draw that back in. For the rest of the website though, it is so easy and fast to build out your website and all your product listings using a website builder like Hostinger, who is sponsoring today's video. Now, I wouldn't recommend something to you if I didn't think it would actually help, but I have tested Hostinger out myself, and my husband has a new shop he is starting out, which he plans to also use Hostinger for. You can build out a professional looking website in 20 minutes using Hostinger. It is so easy to use, and they have all of these AI features to help you design your logo even and set up the overall layout of the website, and even batch create your product listings for you, including titles, your prices, and your product descriptions. Now, of course, it's not going to be 100% accurate because it's not you, but it does so much of the heavy lifting work for you that all you need to do is just edit each one of your product listings for accuracy. And the pricing is also very affordable compared to other website builders. So that lowers the barrier a lot, especially for beginner business owners. There are 0 transaction fees if you use their AI builder. Hostinger takes none of your sales, and you just need to pay their monthly fee, and that's it. So if cost or technical overwhelm has been your reason for moving slowly, Hostinger removes both roadblocks for you. You can get your store live quickly and refine it later once you have real customers visiting. So if you're interested, go to Hostinger through my link in the description, or go to hostinger.com/creativehive. For creative online stores, I recommend the business plan because it has those AI tools that I talk about that make creating your website super easy and fast. You can also use my code CreativeHive for a special discount that makes this less than a cup of coffee every month. Number 4, learning. The next thing that slows people down is getting stuck in learning mode. This one I get feels very productive. It feels responsible, right? You tell yourself you just want to understand everything before you start. You need to see all of the steps laid out exactly so you know what you're gonna do. So then you watch all of these YouTube videos, you Google everything, and then you spend hours chatting with AI. And I get it because you're trying to figure out like the best strategy, right? Whatever that means. But the problem is that learning has no clear defined end. There is always going to be something to learn, and also everyone that you're learning from has a different opinion. Like, there's always a new tactic someone says is something you must do. So then you're just gonna stay in research mode because it feels safer than launching something that might fail. Because what will that mean about you? In reality, you do not need to know everything to start, okay? You need to know about the first step you're on and then maybe 1 or 2 more steps later. That's enough to begin. You need to trust that you will figure things out when you get there. So a reasonable amount of time to learn the basics is, I would say, 10 to 15 hours. And that can fit in 1 weekend. Of course, all of this is assuming that you don't have kids to take care of or other family obligations or like a full-time job, which can all definitely stretch out that time a little bit more. But after that, the fastest way to learn is honestly by just doing. Do it! Once you have a product live, you will see the real questions come up. You will see what are the things that actually confuse you. You will see what customers are responding to. That kind of feedback is so much more useful than another 3 weeks of research where you're basically trying to predict the future, as my therapist says, or you're trying to protect yourself from making any mistakes. But the best learning comes from making those mistakes. If you have been consuming content about starting a business for months, but you still have nothing to show for it, then maybe this is a sign that it usually maybe means you're trying to feel fully ready before you take action. But readiness does not come from more information. It comes from experience, from doing.
Just do it!
Give yourself a limit, a constraint, maybe just a weekend, a couple of days to learn the basics, and then the next few days to actually just publish something. Even if it's simple or feels raw and unfinished, you are going to learn more in the first month of having a live store than you will in months of preparing and just guessing and trying to predict the future. If you're confused about whose advice to follow though, and you're overwhelmed by all of the free information out there, that is a legitimate reason why some people sign up for courses. I do that all the time, and I think I learn faster that way. I have a program called the Sale a Day Business System, and inside of it, I walk you through step by step everything that we discussed in this video in much more detail, like how to do research productively, how to make your product stand out from the competition, like exactly how to naming your business, setting up your website, how to get traffic and sales. I have a free workshop linked in the description below where you can learn more about the philosophy behind the course and get a sense of my teaching style, and also learn a thing or two about how to do things differently than what everyone else is preaching out there, which I find to be actually help save time. It's totally free to watch with no obligation to buy the course unless it is a good fit for you. This option is for people who want more hand-holding, want to cut through the noise, and want to get things done as quickly as possible because they have no time to waste. Next up is a large product line. So another place artists lose a lot of time is trying to build a large product line before they launch. I know that sounds logical, right? You think that if you have more options, that you are more likely to make sales because you're gonna have something for everyone that comes to your shop, right? So you keep designing new variations, maybe different colors, different sizes, more styles. You tell yourself you will launch once the collection feels complete. But what actually happens is that every new product multiplies the work that follows it. You have to design the product, you have to make it, you have to photograph the product, edit the photos, you have to write your product description, you have to figure out the price for it, you have to upload it, and then maybe you realize that, dang it, something was inconsistent, so then you have to go back and adjust everything, and it becomes this huge cycle that keeps you stuck for months. This part should not take months. You do not need 30 or 50 products to open a store. Eventually, you might get there, like after being in business for a year, but you just need a small line when you are just starting out. 6 to 12 strong items is more than enough, and I'm not counting just like one product design with 6 to 12 different colorways. I'm talking about 6 to 12 different products that are uniquely different from each other, yet cohesive to your brand. The goal with starting is to test if people will buy. When you launch with a small collection, you are going to get feedback faster. You see which items get clicks, you see which ones sell or what feedback people have, and that tells you what to create more of. If you build a huge line before you have any of that data, you are just guessing. And if there is one thing I've learned being in business for 20 years now, is that a lot of our guesses, while they may seem logical and make so much sense, like of course that's going to work, right? Those have like 50-50 chance of just being flat out wrong. And also, there is a hidden cost to waiting for a big collection. You're gonna lose momentum, you're gonna get tired, you start doubting the idea, you've now invested so much money into all of the supplies to make this humongous collection, and then now there's a lot of emotion stuck with all of that too. And then there's even more fear, and it all compounds, and then you just never start. Just start with a simple rule. Choose a small group of products you can create and upload within 1 week, 2 weeks. Get them live, and then after that, you can add a new product every couple of weeks. So that way, your store grows while it's already open, instead of staying closed while you are trying to perfect everything behind the scenes. This step will probably take the longest depending on what your craft is and if you need to order and wait for supplies to come in. So there might be a lot of testing involved as well with designing your product. But if you aim for even just the minimum of 6 designs at launch, and you're not learning your craft totally from scratch, as in you already have some skill in whatever it is you do, then you don't need more than 2 weeks to do this. Really challenge yourself to fit design time within this constraint, and based on the Pareto principle, you will see that you can actually pull it off. If you want to see what it looks like when I actually build a brand new store from scratch and decide what deserves real depth and what doesn't, go watch the video I just posted. I talk through my entire plan for starting a completely different type of business than I've ever built before. I show you how I think through product development, pricing margins, branding, traffic, where I'm intentionally spending more time in so that I can set myself up for success.